My roommate shoved a red envelope into my hand. I recognized it instantly as ghost money and, without a second thought, burned it as an offering to a lustful spirit. That very night, a man climbed into my roommate's bed. 1. Songshua, thank you so much for coming with me to the hospital today. You absolutely must take this red envelope. It's a token of my gratitude. The moment we stepped out of the hospital, my roommate Yenqin shoved a red envelope into my hand. Before I could even process what was happening, Yenqin waved at me and said, I've got things to take care of at home, so I won't be able to see you back. With that, she ducked into a taxi and vanished from sight. I looked at the red envelope in my hand, feeling both annoyed and amused. My father was a renowned feng shui master, and I picked up a great deal of knowledge just by being around him. I recognized it instantly. This red envelope contained blood money, a payment for a life. To confirm my suspicion, I examined the red envelope meticulously from every angle. Sure enough, Yenqin's birth date and time were written in red ink in the bottom right corner on the back. It was in red ink and such tiny handwriting, I wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't been looking carefully. I was completely speechless. Yenqin had an unplanned pregnancy, and her younger boyfriend vanished into thin air as soon as he found out. She was too scared to tell her parents. She begged me for ages in the dorm, and only then did I finally agree to go with her to the hospital for the abortion. That bastard was definitely worried about being weak after the abortion and missing her final exams, which would cost her the scholarship. That's why she came up with this rotten scheme, buying my life to restore her own health. Unbelievable. I can't believe it. I came to the hospital with you out of kindness, and you actually wanted to buy my life. Trying to buy my life is one thing, but you couldn't even be bothered to bring more money. A measly $200. Who are you trying to fool? I let out a cold laugh. Did you really think you could outsmart me? I am, after all, the daughter of a master feng shui practitioner. You've picked the wrong person to mess with. Without another word, I hailed a cab and headed straight for the nearest cemetery. This, life buying money, doesn't just buy someone's life by giving it to them. The person whose life is being bought must spend the money themselves for the transaction to be complete. I wandered around the graveyard all afternoon. It wasn't until the sky was pitch black that I finally settled down, crouching in front of a particular grave. I've sized up every soul buried in this graveyard, and the one right in front of me is the only old lecher. He did so much evil in his life that he hasn't been reincarnated yet, still serving his sentence in the 18th level of hell. He's the one. I pulled out a red envelope, lit it with a lighter, and muttered Yenqin's birth date and time. Hey, old timer, you might not know this sister of mine, but she's had a crush on you since she was a kid. You have no idea how many times she fainted from crying after you died. Anyway, she asked me to burn some money for you today. It's only $200, not much, but it's the thought that counts. Spend it wisely, old fella, and if you need more, just ask her for it. As the red envelope turned to ash, I stood up, brushed the dirt off my clothes, called it a day, and headed back to school. The moment I stepped into the dorm, Yenqin eagerly rushed over to me. Song Shui, did you spend the red envelope money? I nodded repeatedly. Yes, I spent it all. Thank you so much. Hearing this, Yenqin was overjoyed. I'm glad you spent it all. You came with me to the hospital. It was the least I could do. With that, he scrambled into bed in a flash. I gave her a meaningful look. Just you wait, kid. Your fun is only just beginning. Whether from a good mood or physical weakness after the abortion, Yenqin soon started snoring, but I couldn't sleep, lying in bed scrolling through my phone. Just past midnight, a sudden chill swept over me, and I shivered involuntarily. The locked dormitory door creaked open, and a gaunt man appeared soundlessly in the doorway. The man sniffed the air, let out a strange chuckle, and climbed straight onto Yenqin's bed. The next morning, Yenqin was still not up. Seeing that we were about to be late for class, I just went ahead and tapped on the headboard of her bed, finally startling her awake. Huh? What happened? Did my alarm not go off? I shrugged helplessly. It did go off. It's been ringing for ages. I thought you heard it. Yenqin wearily pulled herself out of bed, muttering, I'm so exhausted. How did I sleep so deeply today? I pretended not to know anything. You just had major surgery yesterday. You must be really weak. Maybe you should skip classes for a while and rest properly in the dorm. But Yenqin looked puzzled and mumbled quietly, that shouldn't be, I already bought my life back. Then she turned to me and asked, Song Shui, are you sure you spent all of yesterday's red envelope money? I nodded firmly. It's all spent. Why do you ask? Do you need money? I can transfer you some more. Yan Qin waved her hands repeatedly. No, no. It's nothing. I really should get to class. Finals are coming up soon. I can't afford to miss it. Yan Qin's grades have always been excellent. She's been top of the class since enrollment, even though I've never actually seen her study. All morning, Yan Qin seemed out of sorts, her head bowed as if she were on the verge of dozing off. Back in her dorm at noon, Yan Qin checked her class schedule and breathed a sigh of relief. It's a big lecture this afternoon. I'm skipping it. That professor never takes attendance. I really need to catch up on some sleep. But who could have guessed, that afternoon, for the first time ever, the professor decided to call on someone to answer a question, and out of the entire major's 300+ students, he picked Yan Qin. Seeing that Yan Qin wasn't there, the professor said angrily, I've only done a roll call once this whole semester, and I caught you. You're losing all your participation points. When Yan Qin found out, she rushed to the professor's office to plead her case, but she came back a while later, her face a picture of misery. Oh no, this professor is notoriously tough. I'm definitely going to fail this class. Seeing Yan Qin's utterly miserable face, I grew puzzled myself and quietly ran the calculations on that ghost again in my head. The result of my calculations gave me quite a shock. Whoa, that ghost isn't just a lustful spirit, it's also a jinx. Well, this is interesting. With that jinx attached to her, Yan Qin is probably in for a streak of bad luck. For several nights in a row, that wretched ghost would appear right on the dot after midnight, crawling into Yan Qin's bed, and Yan Qin's condition kept getting worse. Her face was deathly pale, her spirit utterly drained, and she'd be gasping for breath after just a few steps. Finally, Yan Qin couldn't take it anymore and came to confront me again. Song Shui, be honest with me, did you actually spend that red envelope money? I said helplessly. Sis, I really did spend it. Wait, what are you getting at? Yan Qin pressed on. How did you spend it? Tell me all about it, I said with an innocent look. I burned it as an offering to my ex-boyfriend. Ah, that poor guy died a miserable death. He was secretly dating over a dozen girls behind my back, fooling around everywhere, and in the end, he literally died in a woman's bed from exhaustion. He's probably a lustful ghost now, unable to be reincarnated. Even though I hated him, we did love each other once. After I went to the hospital with you, I thought of him. So, I just burned the money from your red envelope for him. Qin, you don't mind, do you? With that, I struggled to hold back my laughter as I watched Yan Qin's face turn pale, then beet red. She stood there, mouth agape, speechless for a long moment before she finally turned and fled the dorm room. 3. That evening, Yan Qin returned to the dorm. She sidled up to me, her face plastered with an ingratiating smile. Song Shui, would you mind telling me your birth date and time, the exact hour, please? Her words immediately put me on guard. What are you up to? Yan Qin said with a grin. Oh, it's nothing. We've been living together for so long, and I don't even know your birthday. I can't even buy you a proper gift. I raised an eyebrow. I can tell you my birthday, but my exact time of birth, that's a bit much, don't you think? But Yan Qin was persistent. She leaned in and whispered mysteriously, you don't understand. I know this master who's incredibly accurate with fortune-telling. I've been consulting him for a while. You've been so good to me. I want to have your fortune read too, to see when you'll finally find someone. Oh, fortune-telling, since when are you so thoughtful? Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a notification. I stole a glance and immediately put on a bright smile. Oh, Qin, I don't really believe in that sort of thing, but since you offered, thanks, I guess. Forget about finding love. Let the master tell me when I'm going to strike it rich. With that, I recited my birth details to Yan Qin. Yan Qin took out a piece of yellowed paper and jotted it down, her smile growing even brighter. Oh, that reminds me, Song Shui, there's one more thing I wanted to ask you. I'm not feeling well today. Would it be okay if we turned the lights off and went to bed a bit earlier? I nodded right away. Sure, that works for me. I'm actually pretty tired and was thinking of turning in early myself. Yan Qin and I shared a double room, and with no one else in the dorm. She immediately switched off the light and climbed into bed as soon as I agreed. I lay in bed, feigning sleep, while secretly stealing glances at Yan Qin. I saw the screen of her phone by the bedside remained lit. After a long while, she suddenly and quietly slipped out of bed. I quickly shut my eyes and made my breathing heavier. I listened as Yan Qin's footsteps approached my bedside, paused for a moment, and then moved away to the side. I cracked my eyes open just a sliver and saw Yan Qin rummaging through my wardrobe. She pulled out a coat and then climbed back into her own bed. In an instant, I understood exactly what she was planning, for, just after midnight, the man appeared at the dormitory door again, as expected, and soundlessly slipped into Yan Qin's bed. But this time, the man quickly got out of Yan Qin's bed and vanished without a trace. The next day, Yan Qin got up bright and early and tossed the clothes to me. Looking refreshed and full of energy, Song Shui, I was a bit cold yesterday, so I borrowed your clothes. You don't mind, do you? I shook my head. Of course not. Yan Qin sneered at me with a weird grin. So, did you dream about your ex-boyfriend last night? TSK, I can't believe you'd go for such an old man. How could you even stand to kiss him? Ugh, that's just disgusting. I feigned disbelief. An old man? What old man? What are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean. Yan Qin said with a nasty smirk. Don't worry, you'll understand tonight. With that, she got up and left the dorm room. It's the day of the elective course exam. While it's rare to fail an elective, this professor is particularly strict and insisted on a closed-book test. I glanced over the questions. Wow, they were practically freebies. I could pass just by scribbling down any answer. Seeing that, I breathed a sigh of relief and started writing furiously. It didn't take long before I finished all the questions and was ready to hand in my paper. Just as I was about to stand up, I heard a commotion break out behind me. What are you doing? Hand over your phone. I turned to look and saw the teacher standing right beside Yan Qin's desk. Yan Qin's face flushed bright red as she desperately clutched the desk drawer, refusing to let go. The teacher, growing impatient, pulled her hand away and retrieved a phone from the desk drawer. I made it perfectly clear before the exam to place your phones on the lectern. Why didn't you hand yours in? Yan Qin stammered, unable to get a word out. The teacher glanced at her test paper again, his voice rising even higher. Everyone else has already turned in their papers, and you still have so many blanks left. You're cheating on a test this simple. Have you even been paying attention in class? With that, the teacher confiscated Yan Qin's phone and test paper, walked to the podium, and slashed a bold line across the paper with a pen. Cheating on the exam, 0, Yan Qin pleaded desperately beside the teacher, but the teacher wouldn't even look at her. The moment the bell rang, the teacher left the classroom with the paper. The classmates buzzed with gossip. What's going on with Yan Qin? The questions were so easy. Was cheating really necessary? Exactly. Elective course grades don't even factor into scholarship evaluations. What on earth was she trying to gain by cheating? Do you think she cheated her way to the top of the class all those other times? She's obviously a repeat offender, someone who cheats on an elective, and you expect me to believe she aced her major courses fair and square? Yeah, right. Listening to my classmates' discussion, I stifled a laugh, gathered my things, and headed back to the dorm. That jinx is really something. Yan Qin failed 2 courses in 2 days. Her scholarship this year is a lost cause. I was relaxing in the dorm playing video games when Yan Qin suddenly kicked the door open and glared at me with pure venom. Han Songxue, was this your doing? I put on my most innocent face. What did I do? Qin, you need to explain yourself. Yan Qin yelled at me furiously. Did you burn that red envelope for that deadbeat on purpose? Han Songxue, you're pure evil. I blinked my eyes innocently. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Yan Qin's mouth twitched. She bit back her words, then jabbed a finger at me. If you hadn't burned that red envelope, I wouldn't have. Fine, Han Songxue, just you wait, you're going to get it today. With that, Yan Qin ignored me, climbed onto her bed, and started playing on her phone by herself. I watched her figure and sneered. Think you're prettier than me. The one who's going to have a rough night is you. 5. Midnight came quickly, yet I felt no trace of sleepiness. I knew for certain that Yan Qin was also wide awake. It seemed like both of us were waiting for something to arrive. Suddenly, the dormitory door swung open for no apparent reason. A chill wind swept in, causing the room temperature to plummet instantly. Even huddled under my blanket, I couldn't stop shivering. I stole a glance toward the doorway, and what I saw nearly scared the living daylights out of me. The lustful ghost that had climbed onto Yan Qin's bed just 2 days prior appeared at the doorway, clad in bright red robes. Behind it trailed 4 diminutive paper effigies, each holding a corner of a paper sedan chair they were carrying. A gust of eerie wind swept through as the ghost drifted slowly into the dormitory, the paper figures wobbling unsteadily in its wake. Just as I was at a complete loss, a chilling, Sinister voice suddenly echoed through the air. My bride. Your husband has come to claim you. The moment the words left my mouth, a bone-chilling cold intensified around me. To my horror, the lustful ghost began moving toward me, leading the paper effigy by its side. I immediately pulled the quilt tight over my head and squeezed my eyes shut. My dad always told me that as long as I avoided making eye contact with a ghost, it couldn't harm me, to be honest, even though I'd grown up hearing all sorts of strange tales from my father. This was the first time I had ever been this close to something unclean. I could only feel that icy chill drawing closer and closer, until it finally came to a halt right above my head. A wave of cold seeped through my pores, spreading to every part of my body. I felt as if I had been frozen solid, completely unable to move. I clenched my teeth with all my might, fighting to stay conscious. I don't know how much time passed before a voice, cold and sinister, exploded in my ear. My dear wife. Look at me, I am your husband. My eyelids were heavy and kept drooping, feeling as if they were no longer under my control, almost about to open on their own. Just as my eyelids were about to lift, that voice sounded again. The scent is off. Wrong one. The moment the voice faded, I suddenly felt a wave of relief wash over my body. The eyes that had been uncontrollable just a moment ago were instantly freed, and I hurriedly squeezed them shut again with all my might. That chill gradually faded away from me. I breathed a long sigh of relief. There were only two of us in the whole dorm. If it wasn't me, then who could it be? Suddenly, I heard a sharp scream coming from the direction of Yan Qin's bunk. No, don't come any closer. You're Han Songshue's ex-boyfriend. Go find her. Why are you coming after me? That chilling voice spoke again. You're my bride. Who else would I come for? Look, I've even brought the betrothal gifts. Immediately. The stench of decay filled the air. Ah, a toad. Help. As Yan Qin screamed, a wave of intense drowsiness suddenly washed over me. My head spun, and I fell into a deep, unconscious sleep. 6. The next day was the weekend. When I opened my eyes, it was already well past noon. Yan Qin still hadn't gotten out of bed. It wasn't until evening that Yan Qin wearily sat up in bed. Her face was deathly pale, utterly devoid of life. Like a corpse reanimated, Yan Qin glared at me with pure venom. In her current state, she looked no different from a vengeful ghost. Han Songshue, what on earth have you done? I ate my takeout leisurely. What do you mean, Yan Qin? I haven't understood a word you've said these past few days. Yan Qin struggled to climb out of bed, stumbled over to me, and with one furious swipe, sent my takeout container flying. Stop with the damn act, Han Songshue. That ghost marriage was arranged for you tomorrow. So why the hell is that dead creep coming after me? I hadn't wanted to argue with her, but knocking over my food, that's a line you just don't cross. I slammed my hand on the table. Yan Qin, I'm the one who should be asking questions here. I was kind enough to go with you to the hospital, and you try to buy my life. Have you no shame? I'm not the one who got you pregnant, so why target me? If you've got the guts, go after that little boyfriend of yours. Since you're too scared to face him, I thought I'd find you a nice, lecherous old ghost to keep you company. Yan Qin trembled with rage, pointing a shaking finger at me, unable to form a single coherent word. You, I clamped down on her fingers. Don't you dare point that filthy finger at me. The dead have no lifespan left to give. Buying a dead person's life won't extend yours. It'll shorten it, but it's not without its perks. You've added years to that old lecher's existence and lightened his punishment in the underworld. He'll be sure to come visit you every night now, won't he? Yan Qin, you should be thanking me. I'm helping you build up good karma in the afterlife. Yan Qin struggled with all her might to break free, but she was utterly drained, with no strength left to muster. Not only could she not escape, the effort only made her cry out in sharp, animal-like pain. Han Songshue, you, let me go. I twisted her fingers harder. A jolt of pain shot through her, and her body went limp, collapsing to the floor. Ouch, ouch, Han Songshue, you bastard. What the hell happened yesterday? I clearly arranged a ghost marriage for you, so why did that lecherous spirit come after me? I let out a cold laugh, released her finger, pulled the coat she wore that night from the wardrobe, and tossed it onto her. Yan Qin, oh Yan Qin, you really know how to pick, don't you? This outfit was my gift to you. Happy birthday. Yan Qin's eyes widened. What did you say? A gift for me. A smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. That's right, didn't you see it that day? There was a greeting card tucked inside the clothes. As I spoke, I pulled a card from the pocket of the clothes. It read, "Happy birthday" to classmate Yan Qin, and it was signed with Yan Qin's birth date and time. Yan Qin stared at me in disbelief. How do you know my birth details? I gave a slight smile. It was written on your red envelope, remember? In red ink, in the bottom right corner. Yan Qin finally caught on, glaring at me and saying, "Han Songxue, you planned this all along, didn't you? You only left this one dress in your wardrobe on purpose to set me up." I let out a cold laugh. "Listen, sis, get your facts straight about who's setting up who. You're the one who wanted to marry me off to that old pervert Ghost. You just happened to grab the dress I gave you and ended up marrying yourself off instead. That's what you call a failed scheme that backfired. What's that got to do with me?" Yan Qin stared at me viciously. "Wasn't that your ex-boyfriend? I was just helping you finish your unfinished business with a ghost. What's wrong with that?" I burst out laughing. "Ex-boyfriend? Give me a break. I've been single my whole life. Where would I get an ex-boyfriend? Do you really think I'd ever be interested in that old creep? He was just some random lecherous ghost I picked up from the cemetery." Yan Qin's mouth twitched as she slumped to the floor, speechless for a long moment. I let out a cold laugh. "Instead of wasting time arguing with me here, you'd better take a good look at your own situation. A lustful ghost and a jinx combined. TSK, Yan Qin. Oh Yan Qin, you're in for a world of suffering." My words snapped her back to reality. Yan Qin shot me a glare, struggled to her feet, and spat out, "You just wait," before turning and storming out of the dorm. That night, Yan Qin did not return to the dormitory. The next morning, I called my dad and told him everything that had happened over the past few days. He told me to burn the talisman he had left for me to ward off the evil. Even though the unclean thing wasn't targeting me directly, it could still have some effect on my health. I followed my dad's instructions and burned the talisman, but just as I finished, the dorm room door suddenly swung open, and Yan Qin walked in with our academic advisor. 7. Yan Qin pointed at me and said to the counselor, "Teacher, Han Songxue is practicing feudal superstition in the dorm." The counselor walked over to me with a frown. "Han Songxue, what are you doing?" I hadn't expected Yan Qin to pull a stunt like this. Frowning, I slowly replied, "Teacher, I was just burning some paper for fun." Before the counselor could speak, Yan Qin shrieked, "For fun? You were burning talisman paper? Han Songxue, I knew there was something off about you. Teacher, she's been talking to me these past few days about buying life, ghost marriages, and things like that. I suspect she's involved in feudal superstition and deception." Hearing Yan Qin's words, the counselor's face darkened. "Han Songxue, what's the meaning of telling Yan Qin all this?" My eyes darted as I turned to the counselor. "Teacher, I was just telling Yan Qin a story. It was wrong of me to burn paper in the dorm. I won't do it again. I'm sorry, teacher." The counselor clearly didn't buy my nonsense, her tone turning sharp. "A story? How old are you to be telling stories? Han Songxue, what exactly are you trying to do?" Yan Qin chimed in from the side, full of herself. "Teacher, don't listen to her lies. For days she's been going on about some old lecherous ghost or unlucky spirit. That's no story. And what kind of story requires burning talismans? Teacher, Han Songxue's father is a fortune-telling fraud. She must have learned it from him, trying to scam money from classmates. She even tricked me out of a red envelope before." At Yan Qin's words, the counselor's expression darkened even further. Seeing Yan Qin's smug look, I couldn't help but find it amusing. "This bastard will really stoop to anything to set me up. Since you're playing dirty, don't blame me for fighting fire with fire." I feigned panic. "Teacher, I'm not lying. At this point, I'll just be honest. Yes, my father is indeed a fortune teller. He taught me some methods for exorcising evil spirits. I was burning paper here today specifically to help Yan Qin with a cleansing ritual." At my words, Yan Qin's face instantly changed. "Exorcise me? What's wrong with me that I'd need you to perform an exorcism?" I gave a mysterious smile. "You let out a strange scream in the middle of the night yesterday. Clearly, you were possessed. I'm not making this up. Teacher, if you don't believe me, ask the other students. The commotion was so loud last night. They must have heard it." A crowd of curious students had already gathered outside our dorm room. Hearing this, the counselor turned and scanned the group, her gaze finally settling on Song Qing from the dorm next to ours. "Song Qing, tell us, what did you hear last night?" Song Qing was caught off guard by the question. She hesitated, stammering for a long moment before finally managing, "Teacher, I." The counselor's eyes widened sharply. "Tell me the truth. Did you hear anything last night?" Song Qing clenched her teeth. Her face flushed. After a long, tense silence, she finally nodded. Teacher, I did hear Yan Qin scream yesterday. Yan Qin's eyes went wide. What are you talking about? I never screamed. Before Song Qin could even respond, several other classmates chimed in. I heard it too, one said. I thought you were watching a horror movie. That scream was terrifying. Yeah, exactly, another added. I'd just fallen asleep when it jolted me awake. I heard it as well. It was so creepy. You don't think Yan Qin is actually possessed, do you? Yan Qin's face flushed bright red. She opened her mouth. But it took her a moment to get the words out. Possessed? Don't be ridiculous. I just had a nightmare. Then she turned her accusations on me. Han Songshua, you tricked me out of a red envelope before, calling it some bullshit, life-saving money. I know your family's not well off. If you can't afford food, just tell me. I'll buy you a meal. But you can't use this superstitious nonsense to scam people. Teacher, I suggest we expel this fraud. Han Songshua. So she can't go on harming other students. Hearing this, the counselor's gaze fell upon me once more. The corner of my mouth lifted in a smirk. Yan Qin, since you put it that way, I won't cover for you anymore. Teacher, Yan Qin did give me a red envelope, but it wasn't for life-saving money. It was hush money. 8. Hush money. The counselor looked at me, puzzled. I gave a faint smile. That's right. Yan Qin had an unplanned pregnancy, and her boyfriend was unreachable. She was too scared to tell her family, so she begged me to go with her for the abortion. She even gave me a red envelope as hush money. Yan Qin, I never thought you'd say such things about me. Well, if that's how it is, I have no reason to keep it a secret anymore. As soon as I finished speaking, the surrounding classmates erupted into a buzz of excited chatter. I looked at Yan Qin's flushed face and continued, these past few days, Yan Qin has been haunted by the child she aborted. That's why she's had such a string of bad luck. Yan Qin, whether you believe in this superstitious nonsense or not, I was just trying to help you get rid of the bad energy. For you to turn around and bite the hand that feeds you, that's a pretty low move. Hearing me say this, the murmurs among our classmates grew even louder. Holy crap, Yan Qin always seemed like such a good girl. She actually got knocked up. No wonder she got caught cheating on the exam. She's being haunted by a little ghost. Serves you right. The baby in your belly is alive too. How could you just get rid of it like that? Tisk tisk tsk. I can't believe the top student in the grade would do something like this. Yan Qin's eyes were practically popping out of her head, glaring at me with a look that could shoot fire. She pointed at me, stammering for a moment, then suddenly lunged forward. Han Songshua, you liar. You're slandering my good name. I'll fight you. Several nearby classmates scrambled to hold Yan Qin back. I stood my ground, unmoved, and said coolly, whether I'm slandering you or not, a quick check of your medical records will tell. Yan Qin, you have no shame. Did you really think I'd cover for you? In your dreams, seeing the situation spiraling out of control, the counselor barked, enough, both of you, bring your parents in tomorrow, we need to have a serious talk. What a mess this is. With that, she motioned for the surrounding students to disperse, then turned and left. Yan Qin followed behind the counselor, shooting me a venomous glare. Han Songshua, she hissed, you just wait. Fine, I'll wait. After seeing Yan Qin leave, I calmly took out my phone and called my dad. Dad, my teacher wants to meet with a parent. Can you come to the school tomorrow? The next day, my dad arrived at the school gate bright and early. I led him to the counselor's office, where Yan Qin was already waiting. As we entered, Yan Qin's eyes swept over my father from head to toe. With a sneer in her voice, she said, Han Songshua, looks like your con artist of a father hasn't managed to swindle much money after all. Dressed like a country bumpkin, looking at the old overcoat draped over my father, I said to him helplessly, Dad, why didn't you dress up a bit? You earn so much money, why shortchange yourself like this? My father grinned at me foolishly. I'm just used to wearing these clothes. As long as my daughter doesn't go without, that's all that matters. Teacher, what mistake has Han Songshua made? Why call the parents when everything was fine? Songshua has never had her parents called to school, not once in her whole life. Before the counselor could speak, Yan Qin said haughtily, your daughter is promoting feudal superstitions at school, harming others. She's about to be expelled. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. A big con artist breeds a little con artist. We're cleaning out the whole nest today. Yan Qin's words made my blood boil. I could tolerate her insulting me, but how dare she speak ill of my father? I closed the distance between us in a flash and slapped her hard across the face. Watch your mouth, Yan Qin. Who are you calling a fraud? For years, people have come begging for my father's help. He's never once had to seek anyone out. Don't think your father's donations to the school give you free rein to do as you please. A cheater like you, who can't even pass an exam honestly, has no right to judge me. I'm warning you, if you dare call my father a fraud again, I'll rip your mouth to shreds. 9. I've been practicing taekwondo since I started school, so the slap packed a serious punch. It left Yan Qin stunned and speechless for a good while. The counselor was also startled by my actions and quickly shouted to stop me. Han Songxue, what are you doing? The teacher is right here and you're hitting someone. That's going too far. I turned and glared at the counselor. Teacher, if someone insulted your parents, would you hit them or not? The counselor was stunned by my question, and when she spoke again, her tone was noticeably weaker. You still shouldn't hit someone right in front of the teacher. Alright, let's talk today about this superstitious nonsense you're involved in. Yan Qin's father is a well-known local tycoon who has donated a significant amount of money to the school. The fact that Yan Qin dares to ask the counselor for help clearly shows she's relying on her father's influence. I rolled my eyes. It was agreed that both parents would come. My dad is here, so where's hers? Yan Qin was still standing there dumbfounded, so the counselor spoke for her. Mr. Yan is busy with work, unlike you all who have time to spare. He'll be here in a moment. First, let's talk about your issue. What exactly were you trying to do by burning those talisman papers in the dorm yesterday? I pursed my lips. Teacher, let's wait until Yan Qin's father gets here before we discuss this. Yan Qin finally snapped out of it. Her face flushed crimson as she pointed a trembling finger at me and shrieked, Han Songxue, you bastard, how dare you hit me? I've never been struck a day in my life. Just you wait until my father gets here. You'll see what's coming to you. I shot Yan Qin a fierce glare. And she immediately flinched, a shiver running through her. Seeing the tension escalate, my father stepped in to smooth things over. Oh, Songxue, what on earth are you doing? You can't bully your classmate like that. Teacher, this is all my fault. I shouldn't have filled her head with all that nonsense. I was just telling her stories for fun. I never thought she'd take them seriously. Please, just have a laugh about it and don't take it to heart. Young lady, are you all right? It was wrong of Songxue to pick on you. I'll make sure to give her a proper talking to when we get home. We'll see if she ever dares lay a hand on you again. My father's words only infuriated Yan Qin further. She bullied me, a distinguished young lady of the Yan family, bullied by this country bumpkin. You people have some nerve. Fine, I'm calling the police right now and having you all arrested. Han Songxue, that slap alone is enough to land you in jail. If you don't get down on your knees and beg for my forgiveness today, I swear I'll make you pay. As she spoke, Yan Qin pulled out her phone, ready to call the police. Suddenly, a man's voice came from outside. Qin, what's going on? Upon recognizing the newcomer, the counselor quickly scrambled to his feet and hurried over to greet him. Mr. Yan, you're here. It's really nothing serious, just some horseplay between classmates. I could have handled it myself. But Yan Qin insisted you come to settle things for her. Sorry to waste your time. Yan Qin immediately rushed towards Mr. Yan as if he were her savior. Dad, this bitch was practicing superstitious nonsense in the dorm and she even hit me. Wah, Mr. Yan shot a venomous glare at me, then his eyes shifted to my father's face. Suddenly, his expression changed dramatically, and he stared at my dad in utter shock. Yan Qin didn't notice the change in her father and kept ranting. And Han Songxue's father, that country bumpkin peddling superstitious nonsense to scam people, I'm going to call the police and have them both arrested. Suddenly, Mr. Yan shoved Yan Qin away violently and roared at her, call the police. What are you even talking about? Why don't you just call the police and have your own father arrested? 10. The sudden turn of events left Yan Qin completely bewildered. The counselor was also left speechless with shock. Just then, Yan Qin's father, Mr. Yan, strode quickly over to my dad, beaming as he extended his hand. Oh, Master Han, I truly didn't expect to run into you here. My daughter is young and foolish, spouting nonsense and offending you. Sir, please, you mustn't take it to heart. My dad cheerfully grasped Mr. Yan's hand. Mr. Yan, there's no need for such formality. So she's your daughter. After all this fuss, we're practically family. It's so unseemly to have a scene like this. Why don't we settle this matter privately and not trouble the teacher any further? Hearing this, Mr. Yan nodded repeatedly in agreement. Turning to the counselor, he said, Teacher Chen, this whole incident is entirely Yan Qin's fault. Please, just act as if nothing happened. We'll discuss any further matters among ourselves. With that, he patted Yan Qin on the shoulder. Qin, apologize to Uncle Han right now. Tears streaked Yan Qin's face as she stared at her father in disbelief. Seeing her frozen in place, Mr. Yan gave her a firmer pat. Didn't you hear me? Hurry up and apologize to Uncle Han. Yan Qin swallowed hard, clenched her teeth, and blurted out to my father, I'm sorry, Uncle Han. My dad was still looking at her with a cheerful smile. Oh, Mr. Yan, there's no need for this. It's just a misunderstanding between the kids. Why apologize to me? Really, it's not necessary, Mr. Yan was taken aback for a moment, then gave Yan Qin a light pat. Right, hurry up and apologize to your classmate. Yan Qin clenched her jaw tightly, struggling for a long moment before forcing the words out through gritted teeth. I'm sorry. I shot her a look of disdain. I don't think I deserve your apology. Weren't you the one threatening to call the police on me? Didn't you say you wouldn't let me off unless I got down on my knees and begged for your forgiveness? Mr. Yan was stunned once more, his face darkened, and he said through gritted teeth to Yan Qin, get on your knees and apologize to your classmate. Hearing this, my dad quickly stepped in to stop him. All right, Mr. Yan, what's all this about? We're all family here. There's no need to make such a scene. If the kids have a misunderstanding, just talk it out. They can still be good classmates afterwards. Right, Mr. Yan shot a glare at Yan Qin. Hurry up and thank Uncle Han. Yan Qin mumbled softly with her head lowered. Thank you, Uncle Han. Hearing this, Mr. Yan finally let out a sigh of relief and said to my father, Master Han, I've reserved a private room at Wang Yun restaurant for lunch. Would you do me the honor of joining me? This whole mess was our fault. So please consider this meal as my apology to you and your daughter. 11. It was only after the meal with Mr. Yan that I finally pieced together the whole story. It turned out Mr. Yan's company had been dealing with some unwelcome spiritual disturbances lately. My father is a renowned feng shui master in the industry, a frequent guest at the tables of many tycoons. Mr. Yan had been introduced to him through multiple connections and was preparing to ask for his help in resolving the issues plaguing his business. Earlier, when Yan Qin was looking for a way to arrange a ghost marriage, she found my father's apprentice. My brother happened to know that Yan Qin was my dorm mate, so he texted me a warning. That's when I decided to turn her scheme against her and arrange the ghost marriage for her myself. After the ghost marriage was arranged, Yan Qin went to her father for help. Her father then pleaded with my father, who was the one who ultimately resolved the situation for her. However, Yan Qin had no idea it was my father who helped her. That's why she was so arrogant and dead set on trying to destroy me. Having just had an abortion, had her lifespan drained by an old lecherous ghost, and been subjected to a ghost marriage, Yan Qin looked utterly drained. She was in a daze every day, completely listless and without an ounce of energy. Finals were just around the corner, and I was studying in the library when my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from my dad's apprentice. After reading it, I burst out laughing with joy. I couldn't believe it. My ship had finally come in. I immediately called my dad. When I got back to the dorm that evening, Yan Qin, for once, greeted me with a smile, holding out a cup of bubble tea for me. Han Songxue, I was wrong about what happened before. I've suffered enough for it, so please forgive me. I smiled at her and said, Qin, I'm so glad to hear you say that. Our dads are friends, and we're roommates. There's no need for things to be so tense between us. With that, I took the initiative to take her milk tea and had a sip. Why does this milk tea taste a bit bitter? A flicker of unease crossed Yan Qin's face. Oh, you mentioned you were on a diet before, so I ordered it with half sugar. I nodded with a smile and said to her, Hey, Qin, why don't you go see my dad for a fortune-telling session? You seem to be having a streak of bad luck lately. Maybe your fate's just not great. Let my dad figure out a way to change your fortune. Your dad and my dad are so close. He won't charge you. Yan Qin avoided my gaze, her eyes shifting away. Oh, that. Never mind. I'll figure something out myself. Song Shui, hurry up and finish your milk tea. I waited in line forever to get this for you. Alright. I gulped down the milk tea right in front of Yan Qin, finishing it off with a few loud slurps. As the milk tea reached the bottom of the cup, the smile on Yan Qin's face grew even wider. In the dead of night, I was sound asleep when I suddenly caught a whiff of something burning. Squinting through half-closed eyes, I saw Yan Qin kneeling in the middle of the dorm room, hands clasped in prayer, muttering incantations. A talisman paper was burning on the floor. A faint smirk touched my lips as I rolled over and went back to sleep, to my surprise. The next morning I felt completely drained and couldn't muster the strength to get out of bed. 12. I said weakly to Yan Qin, Qin, I feel awful. I think I'm coming down with something. I'm going to skip the big lecture today. If the professor takes attendance, could you answer for me? Yan Qin, however, seemed to have shaken off her usual listlessness. She walked over to me, full of energy, and said with a grin, sure, no problem, don't worry about it, just get some rest. Watching Yan Qin leave the dorm room with such vigor, I quickly got up. Took out the talisman paper my father had left me, burned it to ashes, sprinkled them into a glass of water, and downed it in one go. A raw, astringent taste slid down my throat and into my stomach. It felt like a piece of tin was scraping its way down my gullet, but after a moment, that feeling of weakness vanished without a trace. It was as if I had been reborn, the life flooding back into me. I gathered my textbooks, walked to the classroom, and took a seat in the very last row. The teacher hadn't taken attendance the entire class. Just as the period was about to end, Yan Qin suddenly raised her hand. Teacher, she said, it seems Han Songxue isn't here. Perhaps you should call the roll. The teacher gave her a puzzled look and was just about to call roll when I stood right up and said, I'm here, teacher, right here. Seeing me wave energetically to the teacher. Yan Qin was so shocked her jaw nearly hit the floor. The teacher shot Yan Qin a fierce glare, noted her name down, and left the classroom. When she got back that evening, Yan Qin stared at me in disbelief and said, how did you get to class? I shot her a glare. Why shouldn't I go to class? It's you who said you'd cover for me, then stabbed me in the back. Yan Qin, you're just pathetic. Yan Qin gave me a vicious glare, hugged her luggage, and tossed out. I won't be coming back to the dorm. With that, she left. Final exams arrived quickly. I hadn't felt fully prepared and was a bit worried. To my surprise, the exam covered exactly what I had studied. I couldn't help but grin from ear to ear and race through all the questions. I stole a glance at Yan Qin. Her face was flushed, she was sweating profusely, and she kept looking around, completely at a loss. The 2-day exams were over in a flash. I was brimming with confidence. It looked like I might even come in first this time, perhaps even snag a scholarship. The results came out soon after. As it turned out, I had unexpectedly clinched the top spot in my grade. Yan Qin, however, had failed 2 subjects yet again, but the bad news didn't end there. As I was packing my things to go home in the dorm, Yan Qin suddenly burst in, her face a picture of misery, a phone clutched in her hand. Dad, how could this happen? Didn't Master Han already fix it for you? How could it? The phone slipped from Yan Qin's hand and clattered to the floor, and she herself collapsed in a heap. I just kept whistling, ignoring Yan Qin sprawled on the ground, and answered my dad's call. Hey, Dad, what? The company you invested in went public. Congrats, President Han. So I'm a rich kid now. See, I knew you just needed a little push. I want a ride home in a sports car. Ha ha ha. Before I could even hang up, Yan Qin suddenly lunged at me with a vicious force, knocking me to the ground. Han Songxue, why did my father go bankrupt while yours became a tycoon? Why? I looked at Yan Qin's twisted, furious face, gave a contemptuous smirk, and with a forceful shove, threw her off of me. On what grounds? You should be the one to answer that. What did you do to me that day? Don't you know in your heart? Yan Qin stared at me with wide eyes. Me? What did I do? I let out a cold laugh. You swapped our fates. Have you forgotten? Yan Qin looked at me in disbelief. How could you possibly know? Looking at her dopey, clueless face, I couldn't help but laugh. My dad's a feng shui master. I took one sip of that milk tea you gave me and knew it had burnt talisman ash in it. TSK, Yan Qin, swapping fates. That's a truly vicious thing to do. You're really something else. Yan Qin's mouth twitched as she screamed at me. Yes, I swapped our fates, so what? Why should I be the one with all the bad luck lately? Why should I be haunted by that lecherous ghost? Why should I get caught cheating? Han Songxue, your dad might be powerful, but he's still just a country bumpkin. You should be the one suffering, not me. I can't stand your holier-than-thou act. I'm giving all this misfortune to you. So what? I burst out laughing. Oh, sister, I should be thanking you. Your streak of bad luck is just because you got tangled up with that jinx of a ghost. Don't you even know, you have a once-in-a-century golden koi fortune. Why do you think your dad's business took off so easily? Why do you think you aced your finals without breaking a sweat? Why do you get a scholarship every single year? It's because you're a living koi fish. But I never imagined you'd actually hand over your incredible luck to me. Ha ha ha, sweetie. It looks like the waters of a koi's fortune are too deep for you to navigate. Yen Qin was completely dumbstruck. That's... How is that possible? How can this be? I let out a cold laugh. Yen Qin, you may have the fortune of a golden carp, but your heart is wicked. Even with such a blessed fate, you can't control it. Sooner or later, it will backfire on you. Giving that fate to me was probably the only right thing you've ever done. With that, I burst into laughter and tossed the luggage from the bed straight into the trash can. My old man's a second-generation rich kid now, so I've got to live a little, right? Time for a brand new set. With that thought, I turned my head to look at Yen Qin, who was still sprawled on the floor in a daze. Hey, I've got another question for you. How do you actually be a good rich kid? I'm new to this whole second-generation wealth thing, no experience at all. Gotta learn from an expert like you, a former rich kid. Oh, and I can teach you a few money-saving tricks in return. Hey, Yen Qin, don't fall asleep on me. Say something. Hello, hello. Story 2. My sister said she missed me, so I went to see her. The day after I arrived at her place, the high-temperature apocalypse began. I desperately grabbed all kinds of food and refrigerants at the supermarket, but my sister said I was degrading myself by hoarding and had no shame. I tearfully offered high prices for supplies in the community group, but my sister said those things had been sitting around too long and were disgusting with bacteria. Yet later she actively fawned over the man across the hall just for food. They thought 3 people were too many, so they drove me out to divide their supplies alone. She snuggled in the man's arms, watching me die of heatstroke. When I opened my eyes again, I heard her saying she missed me over the phone. Oh, just think about it. Recently, India experienced nearly 50-degree heat waves causing even mosquitoes to disappear. At least 85 people died from heat in India within 24 hours. Persistent heat wave in India results in 211 deaths. A continuous stream of high-temperature alerts vibrating on my phone successfully jolted me back to consciousness. Subconsciously, my mouth gaped open like a fish gasping its last breath before I suddenly grabbed the water glass on the table and gulped down large mouthfuls. The slightly cool water trickled down the corners of my mouth onto my skin, and the long-lost sensation of moisture made me involuntarily hum with comfort. Even so, the suffocating feeling of having every drop of moisture evaporated from my body in my past life remained etched into every cell of my being. It wasn't until the cold air from the AC made me shiver that I gathered the courage to pick up my phone. Swiping my finger open, the same flood of Indian heatwave notifications filled the screen. In my previous life at this moment, completely unaware of any crisis, I was still mindlessly scrolling through Weibo. 1. The Ganges was packed with people, their hollow eyes, parched lips, gulping down handful after handful of the gray river water. While marveling at the scalp-numbing sanitation of the Ganges, I felt grateful to be born in our great motherland. My fascinating ancestors not only chose an excellent location to establish our nation but also continuously improved the environment, allowing us to live in the best possible conditions. Learning from the lessons of my past life, I began incessantly searching for information about extreme heat. At this moment, my sister's message arrived as expected. My precious little sister, I miss you. Could you take some time off and come stay with me for a few days? Who would have known that these sickeningly sweet words would become the shackles that took my life? My sister and I are orphans. Our parents died in a car accident during our high school years, leaving just the 2 of us. In a family with 2 children, it's inevitable that fairness may sometimes be hard to maintain, so from a very young age, my mother told me that while my sister had a bad temper, she still loved me deeply. Her current awkwardness stemmed from lingering resentment over the attention she lost when I was born. I've always told myself that my sister truly does love me. Our deceased parents left us a substantial inheritance and compensation, along with 2 properties. It was precisely these inheritances that made me waver for the first time. My sister took the old, shabby apartment downtown. Though dilapidated, it's a famous school district property that could fetch a sky-high price with ease. I kept the newly purchased suburban house from our parents, while it's a top-tier luxury retirement community in the city. It still falls short compared to downtown properties. My sister claimed that by taking the old apartment and leaving me the better house, she was looking out for me, so she deserved a larger share of the money, and that I should be grateful. Later I learned that my sister chose that shabby old neighborhood because it was inhabited by wealthy and influential locals. She just wanted to better her chances of landing a rich bachelor. I stared at my phone expressionlessly. In my past life, it was for this ridiculous sisterly bond that I packed my things and went to her place as soon as my work vacation started. After graduating college, my sister never worked and lived like a pampered heiress off her inheritance, taking a daily stroll under the neighborhood's covered walkway, or listening to local gossip to see who might be getting married. For the sake of quality living, my sister's household never stockpiles food, let alone buys any instant meals. She says ingredients are best bought fresh, stockpiling them just isn't proper. What she truly enjoys are those delicate, authentic Cantonese-style meals that preserve original flavors. My sister said that's how wealthy families eat, so in our past life, if I hadn't shamelessly fought with those people for food, we might not have survived a week. Moreover, my sister spent almost all her money on beautiful clothes and high-end skincare products. She said a woman's greatest investment is in herself. Nurturing herself to bloom like a flower. My sister has always considered herself above worldly concerns and often mocks me, saying why suffer the hardships of a job when I have money. She'd never squeeze into subways or fight for elevators with those office workers. Due to the aging wiring risks in her rundown old apartment, my sister had the lowest power air conditioner installed at home. The faint, intermittent cool breeze seemed utterly insignificant against the terrifying heat. Sorry. Sis has been quite busy with work lately. Taking time off might be difficult. Also, I noticed the weather will be quite hot recently. Sis, remember to just buy enough groceries for one meal at a time, otherwise they'll spoil too easily. How could my delicate-stomached sister possibly eat that kind of stuff? As my thoughts returned to the present, I sent the messages one by one with a cold laugh, casually applying for my annual leave at the same time, seeing the read status on the other side. I placed my phone on the sofa with satisfaction. Then I picked up the limited edition figurine that was placed on the coffee table. This was something I queued for a long time to get, and the only one my sister wanted that I didn't give her. I looked at it and smiled. There are some shows I simply must watch. That same afternoon, the local courier delivered the packaged figurine to my sister. Sis, I'm sorry I can't be with you, so let my favorite figurine keep you company instead. Not long after, I saw the figurine displayed prominently in the center of the living room on my sister's social media. At the same time, I opened my phone's surveillance app, and my sister's living room appeared clearly on the screen. Yes, to compensate for not being able to directly witness my sister's miserable state in the impending high-temperature apocalypse, I hid surveillance devices inside the figurines. Knowing my sister as I do, she would undoubtedly place the figurines in the most visible and secure spot, and the recessed display shelf in her living room is the perfect choice. Humph, at least you know what's good for you. Last time I asked for so long and you still didn't give it to me, really pushing your luck. What a pity. I was planning to have you come over and be my free babysitter for a few days. It's been so hot lately, I have absolutely no energy to cook, let alone go out to buy groceries. Such a great laborer. Good thing I have my adorable figurines to keep me company. In the video, my sister's voice clearly reached my ears. At this moment, my hand holding the phone turned white from gripping too tightly. I treated you like a sister, yet you treat me like a beast of burden. Thank you, my dear little sister. Your big sister loves you the most. I really like the figurine you gave me. A message from my sister popped up on my phone at just the right moment. I smirked coldly. She's mastered the art of saying one thing while meaning another to perfection. I checked the date. There were still 10 days left before the scorching apocalypse. I remembered. I needed to get everything in order so I could enjoy the show from the comfort of air conditioning. Soon, I rented a standalone villa in the same neighborhood. Since it was in the suburbs, the occupancy rate in our community wasn't very high. Moreover, because it was marketed as a high-end retirement community, most residents were wealthy elderly people. As a result, our neighborhood had the best security in the entire city. In my past life, I only realized later that the scorching apocalypse had spawned many desperate outlaws. After all, in an apocalypse, humanity fades, and actions rely solely on conscience. But back then, only our residential compound remained unharmed by the rioters due to its exceptionally strong security. It wasn't until the global development of weather-modifying artillery capable of countering the extreme heat that the high temperatures finally subsided. Every single resident in our community survived. After signing a 3-month lease agreement, I carefully examined the standalone villa before me. The villa came with a spacious basement. To be honest, it was precisely for this basement that I decided to rent the place, perhaps because it was built in the suburbs. Or maybe because the basement was dug deep enough. Even with my coat on, I was shivering from the cold inside. It's like a natural ice cave. I silently gave myself a thumbs up, hoping it would perform just as well when the heatwave comes. Even so, I couldn't pin all my hopes on this basement. After all, with temperatures soaring to 60 degrees, even the local earth god would shed a layer of skin to make myself feel safer. I reinforced the villa's courtyard walls with the property management's permission. I replaced the door with a sturdier cast iron one, and the well-paid workers completed the job swiftly and neatly. The courtyard walls were doubled in height, topped with rows of sharp iron spikes that gleamed white under the sunlight. With these in place, no one would be foolish enough to climb over the wall into the yard, as under high temperatures they become red-hot branding irons. Miss, may I ask why you've decorated such a nice house like this? On the checkout day, a man who appeared to be in his early 20s finally voiced the question everyone was curious about. I scratched my head awkwardly while looking at the villa that resembled a prison. Hee, I have a spoiled cat, and I'm afraid it might sneak out when I'm not looking. The group of people showed understanding expressions. Another cat slave, making such a fuss for a cat, as expected. We can't comprehend the world of the wealthy. To prepare for power and water outages, I bought many solar panels. After all, I'm a science major, and installing these things is a piece of cake with the manual. With this, when the transformer catches fire due to high temperatures, there's no need to worry about losing power, and it can better ensure the operation of the air conditioning. I also ordered a huge water storage tank, equipped with a corresponding water purifier. To better filter the water source, I bought many replacement filter cartridges. Later, using the excuse of having hairless cats at home, I bought many air conditioners from a familiar appliance store at a friendly price, installing them in every room of the villa. I even specifically stocked up on several vertical cabinet air conditioners in case the ones at home broke down. While making the payment, I complained to the familiar staff about the difficulties of raising cats, too. Also ordered 4 large capacity freezers, with the reason being to stock up on food for the cats. After all, it saves money. Although I have it, one should save where possible and spend where needed. Meanwhile, I also ordered various flavors of instant noodles, self-heating hot pots, and luosafen online. Then came a large quantity of my favorite snacks, chips, dried fruits, chocolate cookies, spicy duck snacks, and jerky. All these vacuum-sealed items that don't require refrigeration were piled up in the cool basement. Since fresh fruits and vegetables don't store well in high temperatures, I bought plenty of vacuum-sealed vegetables and also ordered dried vegetables from Northeast farmers online. These just need to be soaked in water before cooking, and they taste almost as good as fresh ones. Of course, there were also essentials like rice and flour. Next, I went to various large supermarkets to stock up on my favorite fish, shrimp, steaks, pork, lamb, beef, as well as free-range chickens, ducks, geese, and various frozen dumplings, buns, spring rolls, and my beloved chocolate-filled glutinous rice balls. Finally, I stocked up a whole freezer full of ice cream and popsicles, things I didn't even dare dream about during the scorching apocalypse in my past life. Besides these, I also went to pharmacies and stocked up on Huaxiangzhengqi capsules and other common medicines, specifically requesting the freshest batches for each. I even bought out all the fever cooling patches from every pharmacy. Forgive me, even though I'm an adult and understand the reasoning, I just can't handle the taste of Huaxiangzhengqi oral solution. Passing by a hardware store, I picked out a few high-quality machetes and iron rods, even though I feel my defenses are decent. Having something for self-defense is always good. To avoid suspicion, I bought all these things under the pretense of acting as a shopping agent for people from other regions, then personally transported them load by load at night using a rented small truck. The continuous physical labor made my stamina, which originally left me panting after just 3 steps, improve dramatically. On the final day, I looked at the villa filled to the brim with supplies, feeling utterly satisfied. In this lifetime, I will definitely survive until the day the extreme heat apocalypse subsides. While I was busy stockpiling supplies, I also kept checking in on my dear sister from time to time, ever since I sent the message saying I wouldn't be going to her place. For every meal of the day, I would deliberately choose her favorite restaurants to order takeout for her, using the excuse that the weather was too hot to accompany my sister. I decided to order her favorite takeout for a few days instead. It would be too much trouble for her to go grocery shopping in this heat. Just as expected, from the day I started ordering takeout for her, my sister never brought food home from outside again, and this was exactly what I wanted to see. On the last day before the high-temperature apocalypse arrived, I knocked on my sister's door wearing comfortable clothes. "Who is it?" As my sister's lazy voice came through, the door creaked open. A faint chill emanated from inside the room. "Oh, Briar, what brings you here?" My sister's beautiful brows furrowed slightly as she stood there in her brand new silk pajamas. I smiled and casually glanced around my sister's room. I happened to finish today's work early, so I asked my team leader for early leave to come eat something delicious with my beloved sister. Well, it's also the last good meal, I silently added in my heart. Then my sister's lips immediately curled into a smile. Okay. Wait for me a moment, I'm going to change my clothes." "But Briar, you're a girl too. Can't you dress a bit more femininely?" "I really don't know how I ended up with a sister who has no sense of style like you." I frowned slightly. My sister always habitually puts me down like this. Ever since childhood I loved eating delicious food, so I had some baby fat. She said I looked like a pig, and would grow up to be a big sow. My handwriting isn't very good. She said what I write looks like a pile of dog shit, unbearable to look at. I'm a free-spirited person who likes to wear loose, comfortable clothes, but she says I don't look like a normal girl, that my clothes look like potato sacks. Yet whenever she wears the same loose clothes, it's like the body sways in the fabric. The more it sways, the more fashionable it becomes. Soon my sister appeared before me all dressed up, with exquisite makeup and a fitted miniskirt. I smiled silently. My sister had been subconsciously dieting to maintain her figure, so in her previous life, her body quickly showed adverse reactions due to prolonged nutritional deficiencies. Later, she became as frail as Lin Dayu. If it weren't for my constant care, how could she have stayed safe all along? Thinking of this, my fists clenched again. I forcibly suppressed my inner displeasure and took my sister's arm to enjoy what might be our last meal before the high-temperature apocalypse arrived. Downstairs, I met the man I would remember for the rest of my life. At that moment, a petite and adorable girl was snuggling up to that strong man. My sister took a glance and pursed her lips. That guy across from me doesn't have much money, but he's still keeping a little trophy wife. Tisk, ordering women around all day. I really wonder how much water that woman's got in her brain to stay by his side. Also, the aunties in our neighborhood say this guy's got underworld connections. So scary. Heard he's even abusive at home. After speaking, my sister instinctively shrank back slightly. I smirked mockingly. "Oh right. You know all the principles. You know he's no good. Yet in your past life you still threw yourself at him." However, when I turned around to look at the two figures behind me, I realized in my past life I hadn't noticed there was a young wife living across the hall. At the time, the man claimed his home wasn't tidy and unclean in the heat, so he directly moved into his sister's place, even bringing his own standing air conditioner there. That evening, I took my sister to the most expensive restaurant in town, treating her to her favorite seafood. Watching her still pretending to eat daintily with just a few bites, I smiled particularly sweetly. "May every day hereafter remind you of this wonderful dinner we shared today. Oh, by the way sis, the company is sending me on a business trip tomorrow, so I won't be able to order food for you. Make sure to eat well even when I'm not around. If I weren't worried you'd buy too much groceries, I wouldn't have ordered so much takeout for you." Sure enough, in the next moment Sissa's face instantly darkened. "No wonder, I was wondering why the sun rose from the west today. So you're treating me to such a nice meal because you didn't want to order takeout for me." I indifferently let go of my sister's arm that was linked with mine. "Sis, at least I was the one who took the initiative to order for you. Instead of being grateful, why do you act like it's your entitlement now? Also, you need to understand, you're the older sister. By rights, you should be taking care of me. Since ancient times, the eldest sister is like a mother. I haven't even asked you to care for me like a mom, so why are you making such a fuss now? Go reflect on yourself." With that, I didn't wait for her to say anything, and left in a taxi with a dark expression. I was afraid that if I walked any slower, I'd burst out laughing. Knowing my prideful sister as I do, by saying this, there's a high chance she won't bother me for the first few days of the extreme heat apocalypse. I just don't know if she'll go out shamelessly stealing things like I did in my past life. I'm really looking forward to it, hoping my sister won't disappoint me too quickly. The next day, I woke up from the heat before the sun even rose. The suffocating sensation of being slowly drained of moisture in my past life came flooding back. Soon I turned on the air conditioner, and the cool breeze it emitted brought my consciousness back. The temperature outside must be quite high by now. The once vibrant green plants outside the window were beginning to wilt. I stood quietly by the floor-to-ceiling window, taking it all in, watching the sun climb bit by bit. 3. The clock on the wall swung back and forth. The high-temperature apocalypse was coming. Beep, beep. The alarm outside the window came like a thunderclap from a past life. High temperature alert, high temperature alert. Dear citizens, we urgently broadcast a global high temperature warning. According to the Provincial Meteorological Bureau's monitoring, sudden global high temperatures occurred in the early hours of this morning, with temperatures rising sharply in all regions. We urge all citizens to take heatstroke prevention measures. To avoid heatstroke, we advise citizens to stock up on food in advance and minimize outdoor activities. We have notified major supermarkets and pharmacies to open for emergency services. Please proceed to the nearest locations as soon as possible to purchase necessary supplies. Additionally, all schools and workplaces citywide will suspend classes and operations. Hospitals will implement shift systems. We urge citizens not to panic. Our city's material reserves can meet 6 months of demand for the entire population. Please trust that we can overcome this challenge together. Quickly, I watched as various large trucks appeared outside our residential compound, transporting supplies load after load. I stared in shock at everything unfolding before me. The emergency alert had only just been issued moments ago. This efficiency truly lives up to our premium retirement community's reputation. All the elderly residents' children returned with supplies to accompany their parents. The harmonious and happy families before my eyes perfectly illustrate the joy of family life. In this scorching apocalyptic world, they all chose to return and face the hardships together as one family. I smiled bitterly and opened the phone surveillance. Originally, I had a family too, in the surveillance footage. My sister let out a piercing scream upon hearing the warning. I subconsciously rubbed my ears and cast the phone surveillance onto the TV screen. Meanwhile, I leisurely went to the kitchen to fry eggs, toast bread, and mix yogurt with oats. My sister's shrill voice came from the TV. What should I do? What should I do? I haven't stockpiled anything at all. Damn that Briar, always ordering takeout for me every day. I didn't buy anything, I knew it. Briar, you're really the worst. What am I supposed to do now? The oatmeal smells so good. I'm happily eating my oatmeal. Then I saw my sister casually tidy up, put on the loose clothes she usually dislikes, and cover her entire face tightly with sunglasses and a mask, as if having made some major psychological preparation. They dashed out. In my past life, I was the one who dashed out. At that time, I had just heard the high temperature warning and rushed out in my pajamas, only slipping on a pair of shoes. Without paying attention to the scorching heat wave hitting me, I plunged into the already crowded supermarket and started grabbing items. I swallowed my pride and fought with an ant over a pack of instant noodles, my arms covered in scratch marks from her nails. My sister, who arrived late, watched everything coldly and even mocked me for shamelessly fighting with elders over things. Later, I alone managed to protect the contested food by wildly swinging a mop handle. I wonder if my sister, without me, would be willing to act like a shrew and fight for food the way I did. After an unknown amount of time, the door opened, and my disheveled sister stumbled in clutching a small bag of food like a mother protecting her young. Her sunglasses were long gone, her mask nowhere to be found, and red marks shaped like handprints marked her face. Her clothes were torn, exposing skin that had turned pink from the scorching heat. As soon as the door closed, my sister collapsed to the floor in tears. Thinking back to my aloof demeanor in the previous life, she's now in an even more pitiful state than I was back then. After breakfast, I decisively returned to the bedroom, set the air conditioner to a comfortable temperature, and blissfully went back to sleep for a morning nap. In this life, free from worries about food and warmth, I quickly fell asleep. When I woke up, the sun was already high in the sky. The phone display shows the outside temperature has reached a scorching 55 degrees. Reminding citizens to minimize outdoor activities. Just kidding, even as someone who loves soaking in baths, I only dare set the temperature to 45 degrees. I'm such a wimp when it comes to pain. At this moment, I've drawn all the thick curtains in the house to block out sunlight and better reduce the strain on the air conditioning. After getting everything ready, I lifted my eyes to look at my sister on the video call. My sister looks much better now compared to her breakdown this morning. But not by much, as all the curtains in the house are already drawn, the small air conditioner can only produce a weak breeze, and the floor is covered with basins of cool water. I quietly watch her bustling about while nibbling on an ice cream. It seems the temperature hasn't dropped much, as beads of sweat keep dripping from her forehead. In our past life, it was the same, except it was my sister giving orders while I was sweating profusely, running back and forth fetching water, doing trivial tasks, and occasionally getting scolded for spilling a little. On the table lay the food she had nearly killed herself to grab that morning: 2 packs of instant noodles, 4 bags of pickled mustard greens, 2 ham sausages, and a few wilted vegetable leaves. My sister sat dazedly on the sofa, carefully breaking a piece of instant noodle into 4 parts and soaking them in water. I pan-fried myself a steak, cooked some pasta, and paired it with mulled wine. Such a delicious flavor. Eating it in the well-air-conditioned home made my whole body feel warm and cozy. Meanwhile, my sister struggled to boil water for instant noodles, quickly lost control, and ate another quarter portion. I should have eaten more last night. Why did I care about staying in shape? I'm so hungry now. Damn it, if Briar were here, with her crazy demeanor she'd definitely snatch more food. Those people are terrifying. They've already grabbed so much stuff. Yet they refuse to share even a tiny bit with me, and to think I once considered them good neighbors. Utterly heartless. My sister's venomous curses came through loud and clear. Meanwhile, I swayed my red wine and took small, deliberate bites of my steak. That's just how my sister is. She only remembers me when she needs something, and takes it for granted that everyone should treat her well. Soon my sister ran out of food, starving at home with desperate hunger in her eyes. While I was overeating in the villa, knock, 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 the long silent door at my sister's place was suddenly knocked on, for the door was pulled open, revealing a man I'd recognize even if he were turned to ashes in the surveillance footage. Thor, my sister's neighbor. Appa, my sister cooed in a syrupy voice. In the surveillance footage, Thor abruptly pulled his boneless sister into his embrace. As the door closed, pressed against each other, the two walked into the bedroom. With intermittent indecent sounds drifting out, disgusted, I briefly closed my eyes and quickly took a couple bites of ice cream to calm myself. At this temperature, with food shortages this severe, how does he still have this much energy? In my past life, I always wondered why Thor from next door would voluntarily come to my sister's place. Nor did I understand why he insisted on driving me out of the house on the very first day, leaving me to get roasted outside. Turns out I was somewhat in the way. Baby, I'm hungry. After a long time, my sister's faint voice came from the bedroom. Soon Thor went out and came back with a large bag of what looked like jerky, the home's standing air conditioner, and a small solar panel. I unexpectedly took a couple more glances. There definitely wasn't this small solar panel in my previous life. The sister's face lit up with joy at the sight of the jerky, but then turned pale as if remembering something. Thor casually tore off a piece of jerky and chewed it in his mouth. Eat up, it's high in protein. We've got work to do after this. Don't worry, I told you, as long as you obey and follow me, I'll make sure you're fed. The sister tremblingly took the dried meat, closed her eyes, and slowly ate the piece in her hand. My previously dazed eyes suddenly widened. The delicate wife next door I'd never met in my past life, and the dried meat. Soon the thoughts in my mind caused physical discomfort. And I leaned over the toilet, vomiting everything in my stomach. During ancient famine years, there was a type of meat called two-legged lamb. Back then, many people survived by relying on the dead, two-legged sheep along the road. Later, the supply couldn't meet the demand, and some inhumane villains would kill live, two-legged sheep to sell. At this moment, I suddenly recalled my past life. Thor smiling as he watched me being dried out outside. At the time, I never understood the obscure look in his eyes. Now I understand. It was the look of someone eyeing food. No wonder he insisted on coming to live at my sister's place in my past life. No wonder, even though my sister clearly didn't like him, she insisted on keeping him around. Turns out he promised to provide her with food. Once you're done eating, go out and place that solar panel on the balcony. Thor, now full and satisfied, sat with his legs crossed, looking every bit the entitled lord. My sister gazed pitifully at the blazing sun and intense UV rays outside. In my past life, these menial tasks would inevitably fall on me. What a pity, I'm not there, me. My sister's mouth had just opened when Thor's fierce glare made her swallow her words. What? I provide you with food, let you use the air conditioning, and now I can't even ask you to do something. I advise you to recognize the current situation, don't try to act like some spoiled young lady at a time like this. My sister opened her mouth but said nothing, her face pale as she picked up the sunshade from the ground, clutched the solar power panel, gritted her teeth, and opened the balcony door. The moment she stepped out, I could clearly see the shadow on the ground tremble through the surveillance camera. Thor grumbled as he pushed his sister out and slammed the balcony door shut. Damn woman. Can't you move faster? Ugh, so much hot air got in. It's boiling in here. He kept fanning himself vigorously while loudly directing his sister to position the solar heating panel optimally, ensuring the grid connection wires were moved to a slightly shadier spot. It took nearly 15 minutes before his sister finally came back inside. Her entire body was red and swollen from sunburn, with peeling skin in many areas. As soon as she entered the room, she anxiously slathered aloe vera gel all over herself, wincing in pain while applying it. In my previous life, the moment I was pushed out the door, the scorching heat left my entire body red and swollen, accompanied by a suffocating wave of heat. I was in pain, crying and begging my sister to open the door, yet she just nestled in Thor's arms and watched. And Thor showed no sympathy for my sister who had just returned covered in wounds, instead casting a disgusted glance. What a useless thing. Getting so dramatic after just going out for a while, not even comparable to my wife. Go away, go paint somewhere else, after you're done, change the water here, it's not even cold anymore. How can you be as lazy as a pig? I was curled up on the basement couch, wrapped in a thin blanket, enjoying the AC, and munching on my favorite duck snacks, watching my sister on the monitor, not daring to make a sound, busily working away. Suddenly, I laughed. What a coincidence. In my past life my sister would also scold me for being as lazy as a pig when I didn't change the water promptly, saying that if she hadn't taken me in at her place, I would have been roasted into jerky outside by now. She forgot it was her who invited me over. I have my own home too, and I'm naturally inclined to hoard things. I could live much better in my own place, obviously. Adding an air conditioner has significantly improved the living conditions at home. Moreover, with such intense sunlight, the solar panel can generate ample converted electricity. The two people on the monitor both wore happy smiles on their faces. Unfortunately, they wouldn't be smiling for long, because from this day onward, the sun would never set. By 10 p.m., the sun still hung high in the sky. The two people monitoring finally noticed something was wrong. Shortly after, a government SMS notification arrived, explaining that due to changes in Earth's magnetic field, an abnormal polar day phenomenon had occurred in the northern hemisphere. The message stated that the duration of this phenomenon was currently unknown and advised citizens to stay home and refrain from going outside. The SMS also indicated that due to extremely high temperatures, hospitals had completely ceased operations, but the government would attempt to provide supplies to citizens. In my previous life, I didn't survive long enough to receive this government message, so we had no idea when exactly the government would send supplies. 3 days passed, and just as I expected, my phone rang. Briar, where are you? With such extreme weather, are you okay? My sister's anxious voice came through the phone. If I weren't watching the muted surveillance footage, I'd genuinely believe this tone was expressing concern for me. I sneered. Where? At home, of course. Why would I go out to become jerky? The woman on the other end visibly gagged when she heard human jerky. Though this doesn't rule out the possibility she might be pregnant. No, sis is just worried about you. It's been so long since you said you were going on a business trip without sending me any updates. I was afraid something might have happened to you. No, I'm fine. So do you need something? My tone was indifferent. About that, Briar. Sis knows you're used to stockpiling food. So could you spare some for me? At this moment, Thor was also staring intently at his sister. Are you out of your mind? Do you even hear what you're saying? It's 60 degrees outside, and you want me to deliver food to you? I was full of mockery. I may be young, but I'm not an idiot. Or did I do something that made her think I'm an idiot? 5. Briar, you can't just stand by and watch your sister starve to death. I'm the only family you have left. Don't you remember Mom always telling us to love and care for each other? Huh, can't believe she still remembers. Sorry, can't make it at all. My stinky noodles are about to overcook. Gotta go. I casually hung up and tossed the phone onto the sofa. Damn bitch, she really has food, the sister was screaming hysterically in the living room. Thor then slapped her hard across the face. Bitch, why didn't you tell me earlier that you have a sister who hoards supplies, wasting so much time? I laughed. This was a classic case of dog eat dog. Even if I say I have plenty of food now, it would only be a cruel thought for them. Let alone worrying about them coming to snatch it. Firstly, it's too hot outside, and basically no one dares to go out. Secondly, even if they come, the community's defenses will only allow them to stay at the entrance. Glancing at the peaceful community group chat, I couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, in places with ample supplies, human nature can be preserved to the greatest extent. However, on the next day, Thor and his sister actually started absurdly stepping out of their home. I watched the two people who had applied lotion on the surveillance footage, leaving the house one after another. My sister's body was covered in bruises, blue and purple. When I checked the surveillance again, I saw some crumpled instant food bags on the previously empty table. At the doorway was a blood-stained axe. Traces of blood meander toward the balcony. From the empty living room comes the sound of my sister's panting. Thor, you're so smart. How did you know they'd open the door? Haha, well. People who've eaten their fill always want to do something else. TSK, they really don't know what's good for them. We already offered to buy food at high prices in the group chat, yet they still tried to jack up the prices. Who would have thought things would turn out this well? Not only did we save money, but we also got an air conditioner and two-legged sheep as a bonus. My sister's sickeningly sweet voice reached my ears through the surveillance system. I never expected they'd resort to killing just to get food. In the following days, they kept fishing at high prices in the group chat before heading out with axes. I downloaded and saved these videos carefully. After that, I stopped checking the surveillance feed because the government had started distributing food in various neighborhoods. My sister and her family would eventually live like normal people again, while I spent my days enjoying the cool comfort of the spacious basement. Half a month later, the polar day phenomenon also began to gradually weaken. After 4 months, the government issued a notice requiring the reporting of heat-related deaths in each residential area. It was at this time that I anonymously sent the video in my possession to the police, half a year into the extreme heat apocalypse. A sudden clap of thunder echoed across the sky, followed by torrential rain. The heavy rain fell intermittently for 2 days, and the temperature dropped rapidly. Just as I was wondering if the extreme cold weather was about to return, the rain stopped, and a week after the rain stopped, I received a call from the police station. They said my sister had been arrested on suspicion of intentional homicide. Her fingerprints were found on an axe in her home, along with bloodstains from multiple victims. An anonymous tip email also indicated that my sister had active intent to commit murder. They notified me that my sister wanted to see me once. I put on delicate makeup and wore the little dress my sister liked to visit the prison. Across from me sat my sister, her body covered in scars. She said Thor kept hitting her repeatedly despite her burns, leaving scars. She demanded to know why I didn't go save her. She begged me to find her the best lawyer to defend her innocence. I wore a mocking smile. She screamed, saying we were clearly the only family each other had in this world, so why was I letting her die? I just stood there smiling as she went mad inside, screaming at me and begging me to save her, just like my past self had done, and just like her, I remained silent, watching as the guards took her away, making peace with my past self. Later, as the sole heir, I inherited my sister's estate and sold all of it, distributing the proceeds equally among each victim's family as humanitarian compensation. My stockpiling behavior was noticed by a Chaos Han businessman in our community, who said a feng shui master told him I had great fortune and would be perfect as a mascot for his company, just eating, drinking, and not needing to do much work. So I quit my corporate drudgery job and entrusted my property to the management office, following the new boss happily to the company to be a likable mascot. Everything is a fresh new beginning. It is for me, and for my sister who is about to serve her sentence as well. Story 2, my fiancé saved a woman from a group of zombies. He fell in love with her at first sight and showed her every bit of affection. However, I accidentally saw the sharp teeth hidden beneath the woman's delicate smile. She was a zombie. For the overall situation of the base, I exposed her identity in public. The zombie fled in a hurry and was surrounded and killed. Later, my fiancé became the lord of the base. He lured me into a trap with a mission and pushed me directly into the group of zombies. So what if Cynthia is a zombie? What's the difference between a zombie and a human? When I woke up again, I went back to the day she was brought back. In this life, I won't stop them anymore. I'll let him and the zombie live freely and happily. 1. Sean led the team back. I watched from a distance as he and the woman beside him were surrounded by the crowd. The woman's hair had a faint luster like black jade, and her fair and smooth face exuded a sense of elegance. At first glance, she seemed completely harmless. Sean stood side by side with her, and they looked very well matched. People around them were also constantly flattering them. Sean and Cynthia are really a perfect couple, a match made in heaven. Suddenly, someone mentioned me, and several others sneered. How can Violet compare to Cynthia? She always has a cold face and looks fierce, as if someone owes her hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think a woman should be gentler, like Cynthia, otherwise, who would want her? The group burst into laughter. I stood aside, and my heart seemed to be squeezed painfully by an invisible hand. In my previous life, I had never realized that this was how they thought of me. In the era of the apocalypse, with zombies running rampant, the survivors formed alliances and established various bases. The base I was in was currently the largest among all the bases. Survival of the fittest. The survivors obtained personal supplies by forming teams and completing missions. Sean and I had supported each other since we were young and grew up together, and we finally became the current top team, the Cold and Beyond team. I have always been strict with the team members. Every mission is a life and death battle. And how can we afford to be careless? But unexpectedly, in their eyes, I was just pretending, extremely ruthless, and even less likable than someone they had just met. I suddenly felt very disappointed, not knowing whether it was for them or for myself who had dedicated everything to the team. The mockery over there continued. Sean opened his mouth as if to say something, but Cynthia in his arms let out a soft moan, and all his attention was drawn to her again. He whispered something, and there was a tenderness in his eyes that I hadn't seen for a long time. Suddenly, someone around noticed me standing not far away. Sister Violet. Those who had mocked me harshly immediately fell silent. After all, I had trained every member of the team. They looked down on women, but they were afraid of my fists. I didn't say anything. My cold gaze swept over them, over Sean, and finally settled on Cynthia. Cynthia's face turned pale, and her eyes were filled with tears. Sister, don't hate me. I just admire Sean. Please don't drive me away. In an instant, she seemed to lose all her strength and fell weakly into his arms. Sean, in a very cooperative manner, hugged her tightly, taking a protective stance to confront me, the intruder. He coldly shouted, Violet, why are you so petty? Cynthia is just a weak woman. She won't be able to survive without me. I fell in love with her first, and I want her to stay by my side. 2. I watched this drama of deep affection coldly. In my previous life, I missed this mission due to illness. I didn't expect Sean to suddenly bring a girl back. I had no objection to rescuing people, but this woman was exactly the same as a special type zombie I had encountered on a mission before. I exposed her in public and proposed a test with the reagent. Cynthia fled on the spot, and when others wanted to surround and capture her, Sean stopped them. He said that Cynthia hadn't hurt anyone along the way and that they should let her go. I didn't want to have a feud with him at such a critical moment, so I spread the news and sent the physical characteristics of the special type zombie to various bases, reminding other survivors to be careful and not to be deceived. Sure enough, not long after, I heard that Cynthia had appeared in another powerful base. Unable to escape, she was surrounded and hunted down by everyone. I thought this matter was over, but unexpectedly, Sean had always remembered it and blamed all the mistakes on me. After I supported him all the way to the highest position in the base, he turned around and lured me into a trap with a mission. Countless zombies pressed on me and bit me. The pain made my consciousness gradually blur. I heard Sean laughing maniacally from a high place. If it weren't for you, how could Cynthia have died? This is what you owe Cynthia. You are only fit to be food for zombies, so what if Cynthia is a zombie? What's the difference between a zombie and a human? In this new life, I won't stop them anymore. Let him and this zombie love each other for a lifetime. I took off the token at my waist that symbolized the team and casually threw it on the ground. It has nothing to do with me who you like or who you want to keep. I'm quitting the team. After saying that, without looking at Sean again, I turned and walked straight out. 3. I've been keeping an eye on the news of team recruitment these days. I went to ask several teams one after another, but the team leaders all dodged my eyes and refused me. Violet, I'm sorry, we really have no choice. I immediately understood that Sean must have greeted them. Sean is the captain of the Cold and Beyond team and the most promising candidate for the future Lord of the Base. No one dares to risk offending him. I looked at the last recruitment form left in my hand. The man in front of me, no, I should say the boy, didn't look very old, probably only 18 or 19 years old. The boy sized me up for a while before saying, "You want to join our team?" I nodded, yes. The boy thought for a while. Just as he was about to speak, he was pulled aside by a person he knew and they whispered for a long time. When he came back, his expression had become hesitant. I understood in my heart that there probably wasn't any hope this time either. Just as I was about to leave on my own, a familiar male voice suddenly came from beside me. "Violet." I looked in the direction of the voice, and it was Sean. I'm sure the news of me looking for a suitable team these days has reached his ears. He smiled sarcastically. "Be soft, Violet. As long as you can be as sensible as Cynthia, I'll let you come back without holding grudges." Looking at him like this, I only felt that the man who had once made me willing to give my life in the memory was becoming more and more blurred. "Sean, have you been indulging in the tender embrace for too long? Do you really think you're some ancient emperor?" I smiled brightly, but my voice was bone-chilling cold. "Do you want to have women on both sides? Do you deserve it?" Sean's face turned, livid, from my retort. "You don't appreciate my kindness, Violet. Do you think you can have a good life without you? The Cold and Beyond team will still be the top team, but you, without me, see which team in the whole base dares to take you." I was too lazy to talk to him and didn't want to start a fight in full view of everyone and attract criticism. Just as I was about to leave, a hand suddenly grabbed me and pulled me behind. "Who said no team wants her? Our team wants her." It was the boy just now. Sean's eyes turned cold. "What's your name?" "Dylan." This name was a bit unfamiliar. It seemed that it wasn't an established team, obviously. Sean also noticed. "You, a new team, dare to oppose me?" Dylan stuck out his neck and didn't back down at all. "It's none of your business." Sean had a high status in the base, and it had been a long time since anyone dared to talk to him like this. "Good, very good, I'll remember you." He gritted his teeth, gave me a meaningful glare, and left in a huff. Dylan took me back to their training ground. This was a very young team, established by him and several of his close friends. They looked like a group of young people who didn't know much about the world, eager to go out and make a name for themselves with their enthusiasm. I asked him why he let me join. His face turned red, and he slightly turned his head. I just couldn't stand someone bullying a girl like that. When we arrived at the place, the team members were training. Hearing the commotion, they all gathered around. Dylan introduced, "This is Violet, our new team member." The group sized me up and down, and they all looked skeptical. "Dylan, is this our new teammate? She looks quite weak. Can she do it? You didn't just randomly pull someone in, did you?" But when I threw them to the ground one by one and they couldn't move, they fell silent, looking at the people lying on the ground. I didn't know what to say for a moment. After I trained the team before, the team members were also this silent. Some even had a look of resentment on their faces. In the past, I just thought they were because they felt their abilities were insufficient. Now I realized that they were just dissatisfied with me being above them. I was considering leaving. Once bitten, twice shy. I didn't want to experience this kind of disgusting thing again. Just as I was about to speak, a figure suddenly rushed up and hugged me tightly. "God, sister, you're so cool. I like you so much." It was a girl on the team. I hadn't been so close to anyone for a long time, and I didn't react at once. Before I could push her away, the others also surrounded me. "Sister Violet, you were so handsome when you fought me just now." Yeah. Why are you willing to join our new team when you're so good?" Dylan briefly told them about the feud between me and Sean. Their faces immediately turned ugly. I smiled self-deprecatingly. Even if Dylan was willing to offend Sean, how could I be sure that the others were willing? It's already a blessing to be reborn. Why should I force others? This is simply too much. The group stood up angrily, looking even angrier than me. "What?" I hadn't reacted yet. The girl who had just hugged me grabbed my hand and stood up for me. "Sister, don't worry. Just stay in our team with peace of mind. We'll protect you." The others also chimed in. Yeah, and you're so good that we're not your match at all. You're our leader, right? Leader, with us here. No one dares to bully you." I subconsciously looked at Dylan on the side. He should be the captain of the team. There was no trace of dissatisfaction on his face. Instead, he smiled freely. "Our team's rule is that the strongest one is the leader." Before I could speak, the others continued to urge me. "Violet, quickly give our team a name. Our team still doesn't have a name yet. Dylan also nodded beside me. A name. It gradually became quiet around me. After a long time, I finally spoke. Awakening team, with the awakening of the young, vital energy, and the awakening team, everything will be in spring. I think this is my new beginning. 5. The team was indeed targeted by Sean. After training this morning, Dylan and I went to the mission point to select a mission together. Dylan asked several missions in a row, but the person in charge all looked embarrassed and said that someone had already chosen them. He wanted to ask more, but I stopped him. I said straightforwardly, "What did Sean say?" The person in charge smiled awkwardly. "Sorry, Violet, Sean instructed that you can only choose these missions." He took out several pieces of paper placed in the corner and put them all in front of me. These mission points were all in remote locations with not many zombies. I immediately understood Sean's intention. In the base, everyone obtains mission points by using the spoils of war or zombie crystal nuclei to exchange for supplies. Sean couldn't stop us from receiving missions, but he could play tricks and make us only choose missions that were time-consuming, laborious, and had little gain. I looked at these pieces of paper and casually picked up one. "Let's take this one." On the way back, Dylan kept talking non-stop. "Sean is simply too much. We must file a complaint." "It's useless," I interrupted him. Powerful teams and mission in charges have always had interest transfers to ensure the priority of mission selection. This is the default rule of the base, and the Lord turns a blind eye to it. Dylan deflated. "Then what should we do? Are we going to be bullied like this all the time?" "Of course not." I raised my head and looked at him with burning eyes. "Then we'll become the strongest. In this base, only the strongest have the right not to be dominated by anyone," Dylan asked. "But if there aren't good missions now, we won't even be able to support ourselves." My gaze returned to the mission paper in my hand. There were two big black characters on it. "U City," I chuckled. "Who said this is the worst mission?" 6. Sean probably forgot who used to choose the missions for the team. He always liked to form cliques and play the favor game, so he had always left these small matters to me. It's certainly easy to talk big, but only I, who did the actual work, understood that the starting point determined 80% of the chance of winning. Before choosing each mission, we had to conduct thorough investigations first. I had actually studied this mission for a long time and was going to let Sean take it, although U City was located in a remote area. According to the feedback of several recent explorers, it was found that zombies had been passing by frequently these days. I suspected that there should be high-level energy sources appearing, which had attracted so many zombies. Although the abilities of the new team members were uneven, relying on the complex terrain of U City, I was confident that we could successfully complete the mission. For several days in a row, I had been leading the team in targeted practice. It wasn't until the day of the mission that I found out that Sean's team was actually leaving on the same day as us. I heard that he had received the most sought-after, lucrative job at the moment. The car window was wide open. Sean sat in the car and turned his head to look at me. In his arms was Cynthia. She was sitting on his lap, and her fair and slender arms were wrapped around his neck. The sunlight shone into the car, and the scratch marks on the back of Sean's neck and the hickeys on Cynthia's arms and neck were clearly visible. The scene was extremely erotic. He sneered. "I heard that you're going to look for zombies in the mountains and forests this time. Is this your new destination?" After quitting the team, the team members in the car all burst into laughter. Cynthia's eyes were filled with tears, and she said pitifully, "Sister Violet, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take your place. I just love Sean so much. Why don't you apologize to Sean and beg him to let you come back?" I looked at Cynthia, who was pleading for me. With amusement, she seemed understanding, but there was nothing but pride and complacency in her eyes. Sean quickly soothed her softly. "Baby, don't pay attention to that ungrateful woman. You are the one I love the most." Cynthia buried her head in his chest, feeling both touched and shy. They really seemed deeply in love. The young team members behind us rolled their eyes. I shook my head with a smile and stopped them from secretly giving the middle finger. I said to Sean, "Well, we'll just have to wait and see." 7. Two major events happened in the base. First, an unknown team brought back a large number of crystal nuclei and even high-level energy sources, becoming famous overnight. The name of the Awakening team resounded throughout the base, greatly appreciated by the Lord, who publicly praised it as the new rising light. Second, the first team, Cold and Beyond team, suffered a crushing defeat. Not only did they fail to complete the mission, but they also lost two important team members. Most of the people were injured to varying degrees and fled back in a hurry. As for the reason for the failure, it was speculated that it was due to carelessness and underestimating the enemy before the battle, and they didn't survey the terrain in advance or formulate a thorough combat plan. For a while, there was a lot of discussion within the territory. I didn't react much and continued to train my team. I also had some of the resources sent to the mission in charge. They have always been willing to sell their support for the right price. Now that we have shown stronger strength, they are naturally willing to cooperate with me. Gradually, as we completed more and more missions, the team's reputation grew. Now, when people mention the #1 team in the base, what comes to everyone's mind is the Awakening team. At first, the team members were very proud, but seeing that I was still indifferent, they gradually calmed down and continued with their training as usual. One day, I met a familiar person. The person hesitated and walked forward. "Sister Violet, how have you been recently?" I didn't answer. He continued, "I came here to ask if your team is still short of people." He was a team member of Sean's team. From his description, I learned what had happened recently. In the past, with me behind him, taking care of everything, he only needed to charge forward bravely. But now, on his own, he still acts as ostentatiously as before. The team members are suffering a lot, and it's very difficult to complete each mission. In addition, there is an extra Cynthia in the team who doesn't contribute, and the supplies are simply not enough to go around. The captain takes the lion's share, so naturally, the team members are not happy. The team members gradually left one by one. The more thick-skinned ones naturally came to me. "Sister Violet, please help me," no matter how much he pleaded. I didn't agree. Everyone has their own destiny, and no one should stand in the way. This is a truth I understood only after dying once. 8. Later, I accidentally met Sean on the road. He looked much more haggard, and Cynthia beside him also looked much less radiant, far from the glorious appearance they had before. He also saw me, and his expression froze. It seemed that he wanted to say something, but Cynthia beside him suddenly grabbed him, and he didn't get a chance to speak. Dylan beside me spoke up. "I heard that their team disbanded, and Sean took Cynthia to another team. Since there is already a captain in that team, he can only join as a team member." Naturally, the supplies. I of course understood what Dylan didn't finish saying. Without being able to take the majority of the supplies as the captain and having to support 2 people, he naturally became down and out. For a moment, I felt a bit sad, not for Sean, but for what we used to be. We supported each other all the way, blocking knives and shedding blood for each other, which made the Cold and Beyond team go from being unknown to being well known. We also once promised to fight side by side forever and trust each other with our backs. Now, everything has become a thing of the past. Even the name of the team no longer exists. "Sister Violet, did you hear what I said?" Dylan's voice interrupted my thoughts. I shook my head and pushed these thoughts aside. "What? I said the other day that you need to go out for a while recently." I nodded. "Yes, I'm going to save someone." 9. I once met a friend during a mission. He was a medical genius and was regarded as the hope for the future of the apocalypse, but later he died. On the day he had an accident, I originally wanted to set out to save him, but I was stopped by Sean. At that time, Sean basically monopolized the power in the base. Since he didn't let me go, of course, I couldn't get out. He said righteously that he didn't want me to take risks, but it wasn't until I was dying that I realized that he deliberately wanted me to taste the pain of losing someone important. So this time I'm going to save him. The tragedy can't happen again. Dylan and the others originally wanted to go with me, but I refused. The Lord's selection is about to start soon. You have to stay in the base during this time. This mission may be very dangerous, and I can't let others take risks with me. 10. When I met Ryan, he had just finished an experiment. Seeing me with a knife and a gun, he obviously didn't believe that I was there to admire his medical skills. I steeled my heart and started talking nonsense. "Dr. Ryan, don't drive me away. Actually, I've been admiring you for a long time and just want to stay by your side." Ryan's face turned completely red all of a sudden. He looks decent, but he has a sharp tongue. In fact, he's been single his whole life and will blush when talking to a woman for a few more words. Sure enough, Ryan still let me stay, but I followed him for several days and didn't find anything unusual. At night, just as I was about to close my eyes and go to sleep, I heard rustling sounds outside the room. I was speechless and choked up. How should I tell him that the slight sounds of his breathing and footsteps were as loud as thunder in my ears? And he even bumped into the wall. I followed him at a distance until I found that he was walking further and further away and even left the safe area. He took out the reagent. Roaring sounds came from far and near, and countless zombies were rushing from all directions like a flood. Ryan took several steps back in a hurry and fumbled to take out a bunch of bottles and jars and splash them on the zombie closest to him. The zombie's originally greedy expression suddenly turned painful. And it howled hoarsely, and its body began to fester and deform. What a powerful poison, but there were too many zombies. Even if all the medicine was used, it was impossible to kill them all. The zombies roared and swarmed up. Seeing that the zombies were about to rush in front of him, Ryan closed his eyes and stopped making futile struggles. At the critical moment, a dagger stabbed into the zombie's neck, and I stepped forward and pulled it behind me, while clearing the zombies in front of me. I led him back. Ryan looked surprised. I slashed with the knife and dealt with several zombies that pounced from the side, and then turned to look at him. What? He looked at the blood of the zombie on my hand. It's nothing. 11. Fortunately, before I came here, I sent a message to the nearby base, and their people soon arrived. When I got back to the house, I went to the sink to clean the bloodstains immediately. Ryan didn't say a word on the way, only then did he shyly move to my side. Who on earth are you and why were you following me? I wiped my hands with a towel and replied gently, didn't I say, I like you, so of course I can't leave you. His face turned red again. Don't say such things as a girl. I know, you don't like me, I can tell. Ryan lowered his head. Forget it, I won't ask about your background. I just want to know why you saved me. I looked at him as if I had returned to that stormy night. At that time, I met Ryan when Sean and I were on a mission. And we traveled together. Unexpectedly, we were suddenly attacked by zombies on the way. I covered for Sean and the others to retreat, but I was trapped in the cave instead. I thought they would come to find me in 3 or 4 days, but no one showed up after waiting for a week. Exhausted, I couldn't hold on and fainted. When I woke up again, I saw Ryan. He was wearing thin clothes, and all his clothes were wrapped around me. It felt like a lifetime ago. Is this the underworld? Why are you dead too? Ryan was angry and amused, and he threw the medicine bottle at me. I'm a brilliant medical genius, the recognized hope of the Federation. How could I die? Get up and apply the medicine. What kind of pig teammates do you have? They all run faster than rabbits when they encounter danger and leave their companions here without a care. If I hadn't had an impulse, you would really have lost your life. After that, Ryan and I met Sean on the road. He greeted me with great apologies, saying that he was delayed on the way. The face in front of me seemed to overlap with that of the past. I teased with a smile, you are a medical genius, the recognized hope of the Federation. How dare I let you die? 12. Finally, I made up for the regret of my previous life. Ryan shyly told me that he wanted to test the effect of the reagent and, by the way, catch a zombie for an experiment, so he left the safe area without telling me. All these could have been done by hiring a team. However, Ryan didn't have the money. Pharmacists in the base can earn income through making reagents, but Ryan is too stubborn. He doesn't want to cater to big shots and make commercial medicine. The ordinary medicine he makes is only enough to sustain his life. I looked at him and suddenly said, come to my base with me. I can help you, no matter what medicine you want to research. Ryan's eyes lit up. Do you know what medicine I want to research? Of course I know. He once told me, the medicine to save the world. No one has ever succeeded in developing it in all these years of the apocalypse, but I think he can. I stretched out my hand to him, not worried at all that he would refuse. Happy cooperation. After a long time, a warm hand held mine. Happy cooperation. 13. I brought Ryan back to the base. Ryan really loves making medicine. As soon as he arrived at the base, he immersed himself in the laboratory. As soon as Dylan heard that I was back, he came to see me. Sean has a fairly high status in their team now, second only to the captain. Some time ago, I heard that he had a big fight with Cynthia. I don't know the reason. It seems that they just made up recently, before I left. I was afraid that something might happen to me, so I specifically asked Dylan to keep an eye on them. After all, having a special type zombie in the base is always a risk. Sean himself is not weak in ability, and the team he joined is also very strong. It's not difficult to understand why his status has been elevated. As for what's going on between him and Cynthia, it has nothing to do with me. I interrupted Dylan's gossip and just asked him to tell me the important things for the Lord's selection. Currently only our team and Captain Roy are in the running. Captain Roy is Sean's current captain. Dylan asked, do we need to take any precautions in advance? I shook my head. Captain Roy is a very good person. Captain Roy is more than 10 years older than Sean and me. When Sean and I were still unknown, he supported us. He has the kindness of recognizing our talents for both Sean and me. His team was already full, but he still let Sean join the team despite all the objections. Considering our past relationship, from this point of view, this person is trustworthy. We just need to focus on ourselves, keep training and make preparations before the battle. 14. But unexpectedly, just a few days later, news suddenly came. Captain Roy was infected by a zombie. The team members didn't want to give up and sent him back to the base overnight. The doctors tried to save him all night. But finally they informed that they could only slow down the infection and couldn't change the outcome. When I saw Captain Roy, his whole body was blue, and he was lying there quietly. The one wiping his body beside him was his team member and also his wife, looking at her red eyes. I felt very sad. Sally, you need to take care of yourself. When she saw me, she forced a smile. Violet is here. Please have a seat. Seeing her like this, I didn't know how to comfort her. Sally stroked Captain Roy's cheek and said firmly, the doctor said he only has a few days left, but I won't give up on him until he turns into a zombie. I asked her why Captain Roy was suddenly injured, and she was also puzzled. Logically speaking, they had already cleared the area, so they dispersed and took a rest on the spot. No one expected that the zombie would suddenly appear and rush straight at Captain Roy. Everyone was caught off guard. Sally sighed. Actually, when he first started going on missions, I also thought that there would be such a day. I just didn't expect it to come so quickly. 15. Captain Roy's condition worsened, and he probably wouldn't be able to hold on for a week. Their team is now temporarily under the management of Sean. These days, I often see him and Cynthia leading the team on missions. Since Captain Roy has already had an accident, the candidates for the Lord naturally became me and Sean. However, Sean has a history of failure. So overall, my chances of winning are greater. Sean privately sent messages to me several times through others, saying that he wanted to talk about cooperation, but I ignored them. The Lord also met with me several times. Between the lines, he was asking me about my plans for the base in the future. It is rumored in the base that I am already the certain Lord. 16. Just then, Sean extended an olive branch again, saying that he had found the truth about Captain Roy's injury and the treatment method and wanted to talk to me. The team members all advised me not to go, saying that it might be a trap, but I had to go. Captain Roy has been kind to me. Even if I have to make a deal with Sean, I have to save him. I comforted them. Worst case scenario, you guys come with me. Are we a whole team afraid of Sean? Only then did Dylan and the others reluctantly agree. Cynthia was indeed still standing with Sean. When he saw me, Sean's expression was quite complicated. Violet, I asked you to come here just to have a good talk with you. As long as you assist me well in the future, when I become the Lord, I will definitely not treat you badly. I responded indifferently. Cut the crap and tell me the treatment method. Sean said angrily. Violet, don't refuse a good offer and ask for trouble. Cynthia also chimed in beside him. Sean, you don't need to talk to her so much. Kill her, and the Lord's position will be yours. Seeing that I was still unmoved, Sean gritted his teeth. You forced me, Cynthia, do it. With a strange roar from Cynthia, deafening footsteps came from the distance. Dense zombies rushed forward like a tide. My team members and I kept retreating, but amazingly, those zombies actually ignored Sean and Cynthia and charged straight at us. Sean showed a proud expression. Even zombies won't hurt me. I'm the chosen one. I ignored him and looked towards the base. He sneered. Who can save you now? Those captains in the base who can't handle important matters, that Lord who is dying of illness, or these young lads you brought, and me? A loud shout came from behind me. Hearing the familiar voice, Sean looked over with an incredulous expression on his face. Captain Roy. 17. Of course, it wasn't just Captain Roy, but also other teams from the base. Naturally, everyone had a share in this great opportunity to wipe out a large number of zombies at once. Captain Roy, of course, didn't die. After all, Ryan's reputation as the light of hope wasn't for nothing. Just as he developed the antidote for zombie poison, the news of Captain Roy's injury came. This medicine was only effective for those who had been poisoned within a week, so there was no time to test its effect. With Sally's consent, it was administered to Captain Roy. Fortunately, it was a success. According to Captain Roy's account, at that time, he was distracted by Sean, so the zombie managed to sneak attack him successfully. I immediately understood that Sean had received help from Cynthia, but there was no evidence indicating that he had driven the zombies. So, we arranged a great play, a play that could not only catch the mole but also wipe out the zombie horde. Captain Roy faked his death to make Sean lower his guard. And the Lord's repeated conversations forced him to take immediate action. In the end, not only were he and Cynthia captured, but a large number of zombies were also wiped out. Looking at his retreating figure filled with fear, I smiled gently. Do you know why I brought the team here? Because I want to capture you and Cynthia alive. You can't die so easily. With the cooperation of many parties, the zombie horde was wiped out at once, and Sean and Cynthia were taken back to prison. Sean was still restless. He shouted that he had a special constitution and wasn't detected by zombies, and he was the best candidate for the Lord. I went to see him. He was covered in mud and looked extremely embarrassed in the dungeon, and there was still a strong ambition in his eyes. He seemed confident that we wouldn't kill him. Indeed, if he really had such an ability, those old guys in the base would definitely try their best to keep him despite all objections. But, did he really have it? 18. He looked at me with a guarded expression. What are you doing here? I said. Ryan asked me to tell you something. Cynthia's face instantly turned pale. She wanted to step forward to stop me, but she was chained in place. Cynthia, a special type zombie, looks no different from a human on the outside. In order to maintain consciousness, she needs to have sexual intercourse with a human to delay the process of turning into a full zombie. And correspondingly, the person who has sexual intercourse with her will gradually turn into a zombie. I bent down and looked at Sean's changed expression as he slumped on the ground. I smiled sarcastically. Haven't you noticed the changes in your body and thinking? All the team members had noticed his gradually turning green skin and his increasingly sluggish reaction speed. Zombies won't hurt you, of course not, because you're no longer human. How could they attack their own kind? Sean suddenly looked at Cynthia with a ferocious expression. Is what she said true? Cynthia didn't answer, but her evasive eyes had already told everything. Sean collapsed and roared, "You bitch! How dare you lie to me? I'll kill you." The chains binding his limbs prevented him from moving. After roaring furiously for a long time, Sean hunched over with red eyes. "Violet, Violet, I'm begging you, please save me, he cried out. "You have the medicine, right? Please. For the sake of our past relationship, save my life." I looked at him for a while, then slowly took out the reagent from my arms. "You mean this?" Sean saw hope and his eyes instantly lit up. Yes, please give it to me. I promise I'll only love you from now on." I walked closer to him slowly. Under his expectant gaze, I suddenly let go of the reagent, letting the glass shatter all over the ground. He didn't care about me anymore and quickly crouched on the ground trying to gather the liquid. The glass shard stabbed deeply into his palm, but he seemed not to feel it and frantically licked the dirty liquid on his hand. I kindly advised, "It's useless. Ryan's medicine is only effective within a week of being poisoned, and you've been poisoned since the moment you had sexual intercourse with her." I returned the words he once said to him. "It doesn't matter, Sean, just live like this. Didn't you tell me before? What's the difference between a human and a zombie?" 19. After walking out of the cell, Ryan looked at me with a very complicated expression. "How do you know about special type zombies? I don't think I've ever told you about this." That's right, Ryan in this life didn't. It was Ryan from my previous life who told me. Suddenly, someone mentioned me, and several others sneered. How can Violet compare to Cynthia? She always has a cold face and looks fierce, as if someone owes her hundreds of thousands of dollars. At first, I planned to remind Sean. But later, every time I brought up this topic, he would lose his temper, so I didn't mention it again. From the moment I quit and let Cynthia stay, I knew Sean's final outcome. Of course, this was originally the ending he deserved. 20. I heard that Sean and Cynthia, who had turned into zombies, finally became Ryan's experimental subjects. This was something he had been looking forward to for a long time. Later, I didn't ask about it anymore. Captain Roy withdrew from the leader selection. He said that he had been on missions for 20 years and needed to take a good rest, otherwise Sally would divorce him. Naturally, I became the only candidate for the Lord. There were so many things to deal with that I didn't have the leisure to care about other things. Looking at the medicine newly developed by Ryan with a longer effective time and the expanding territory of the safe area, I am full of confidence in the future. My awakening team has already arrived. And the awakening team in the apocalypse is just beginning.